we'd like to welcome everybody that's watching us live on the internet. You know, if you've never been here to the Israel of God, if we have any new people here, you know, we always deal with the Bible by subject and title. Because we know if you deal with this Bible by subject and title, the Bible is a lot easier to be understood. So today's title is The Covenant, because God is a covenant God. And if you're going to come and deal with this God, you have to come up under covenant with him. Now, we're going to look at some of these covenants. Now, if you a New Testament Christian and you done said that the Old Testament have been fulfilled or we don't have to deal with the Old Testament no more, then these covenants that we looking at, somebody done broke the covenant. Somebody done broke the covenant if you're a New Testament Christian. So we're going to look at some of these covenants and we're going to see if these covenants is valid today. So let's start this in Genesis, the 6th chapter. Oh, this is what we want to do. Let's read the word covenant so you can understand what the word covenant means. Go ahead, read the word covenant. Go ahead.
The World Book Dictionary.
Hold up, say it again, Ken.
World Book Dictionary.
And we're going to read what the word covenant means. Go ahead and read.
Covenant, a solemn agreement between two or more persons or groups.
He say it's a solemn agreement between two or more groups. So when you come into this thing, you are coming up under covenant with the true and living God. Let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter, and we go pick it up at verse 5, because at this time, we going to look through the lens of the Lord, and at this time, man have got completely wicked. And we about right here, right now. Genesis 6, and we go pick it up at verse 5. Genesis 6 at verse 5. Go ahead and read.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
I mean, we're about right there, right now. We're about right here, right now. And let's see what the Lord gonna do, because every imagination of man's heart is wicked. Go ahead and read.
And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth.
That's bad. When the Lord said it repented him that he done made man on the earth, that's real bad. Go ahead and read.
And it grieved him at his heart.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the air. For repented me that I have made them.
And look what the man that got the beasts in trouble. The beasts, the fowls of the air, everything we done got them in trouble because the Lord is finna destroy this earth. But all you have to do is walk in righteousness, and believe me, the Lord will look down and he'll see you. Go ahead and read.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
You mean Noah found unmerited favor in the eyes of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
These are the generations of Noah.
That's good. That's good. Let's go to Genesis 9, and we go pick it up at verse 1. That was before the flood. Now let's go to sometime after the flood now.
Skip. 17.
No, Genesis 9, and we go pick it up at verse 1. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. We got to go back. I need to listen to you a little bit more, right?
Yeah, just sometimes.
Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Just sometimes.
Just a little bit, huh? Right. Let's go back to Genesis 6. I'm sorry. We need to drop down to verse 17. Drop down to verse 17 of Genesis 6. Hey. Verse 17. Go ahead and read.
Genesis 6 and 17, right?
Go ahead.
And behold, even I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh.
He said he's going to bring a flood of water upon the earth to destroy all flesh. Go ahead and read.
Wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die.
He said everything that's in the earth shall die. Go ahead and read.
But with thee I will establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife, and thy son's wives with thee.
He said, but with you, Noah, I'm going to establish my covenant. I'm going to make this agreement, Noah, between you and me. Go ahead and read.
And
now, this covenant can't be good no more because this is the Old Testament.
Right,
that Old Testament have been fulfilled. So this covenant cannot be any good right here. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 19.
Go ahead.
And of every living thing of all flesh, two of every sort thou shalt bring into the ark to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female.
Go ahead.
Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. Two of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive.
Now, the clean beasts, he gonna take 7 clean beasts, but he only gonna take 2 unclean beasts. Go ahead and read.
And take down to thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that the Lord commanded him, so did he.
Now let's go to Genesis 9. And let's see, because he said he was going to make a covenant with Noah and his seed. Let's look at this covenant that he made with Noah and his seed. Let's go to Genesis 9, and we go pick it up at verse 1. Then we go drop down to verse 8. Genesis 9 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Wait, what? But he told the same thing to Adam. In Genesis 1 and 28, I believe it is, he told Adam, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. Adam was the beginning, right? Now the Lord then flooded the whole earth. So you know who else is a beginning? Noah. Noah is a beginning too. Go ahead and read. Drop down to verse 8. Because we got to look at this covenant that he made with Noah. Verse 8, go ahead and read.
And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you.
I'm going to make this agreement, Noah, because what is a covenant? It's an agreement between 2 or more parties. So I'm going to make this agreement with you, Noah, and with your seed after you. Go ahead and read.
And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth.
Go ahead.
And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there be any more be a flood to destroy the earth.
Now that covenant ain't no good. It can't be no good according to what the people then taught me.
Right.
They taught me that this Old Testament have been fulfilled already. We ain't under it. We don't have to keep them laws in the Old Covenant no more. So this is no good. Go ahead and read.
Verse 12. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I made between me and you and every living creature that is with you for a perpetual generation.
What do perpetual mean? That means forever. This covenant don't stop. He's saying, and I will establish my covenant with you. And he said, this is going to be the token of the covenant. Let's see, what is the token of the covenant then? Go ahead and read.
I do set my bow in the cloud.
Wait a minute. What is this bow that he's setting in the cloud to be a part of the token of the covenant? This is the rainbow. Can you pull that up? Can you pull Noah's ark with the rainbow up for me, please? If you can. There you go right there. This is the token of the covenant right here. God set that bow in the cloud. Go ahead and read.
I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
That's the token of the covenant between God and the earth. He gonna look at this rainbow. This is the token of the covenant between me and the earth. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant.
Wait a minute. He ain't got to remember the covenant, do he? He's saying, somebody done told me he done forgot this covenant. He's saying, I'm going to remember the covenant. Go ahead.
Which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh.
There ain't going to be no flood to destroy all flesh no more. Next time he do it, it's going to be by fire.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be by fire. So the Lord ain't going to use no, and look, we just had, what was it just raining at? Was that in Houston? I mean, I could see how the Lord could destroy the earth with water. And I don't care where you're at. You could be in the crack of the ground. That water going to find you. That water going to find you. You could be in the crack of the ground, and that water going to zoom right in that crack. So what the Lord say? I ain't going to destroy the earth by water anymore. That's the covenant that he's making with Noah. And every living creature, and he say even the earth. This is the covenant with the earth. What verse you at?
We're at 16.
16, go ahead and read.
And the boat shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant.
Don't say everlasting.
The everlasting covenant.
No, it can't be an everlasting covenant because we don't have to keep this Old Testament no more. He said, and I'm going to remember the everlasting covenant. Go ahead.
Between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth.
Go ahead.
And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth.
When you see that rainbow in the cloud, that is the token of the covenant that God will never destroy this earth again by water. People don't even know what the rainbow up there for. Average person go to church, they don't even know what the rainbow is for. The Lord is letting you know that this is the token of the covenant, and I never destroy the earth by water again. That's what that rainbow is up there for. Do we still see the rainbow?
Yes, sir.
Look like this covenant is still good then. Go ahead, what verse you at?
We're at 18.
Read verse 18 to 17 again, Ken.
And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth.
That's good. So who broke the covenant then? You telling me that God is a breaker of covenants if this covenant here ain't no good no more. God then broke the covenant. This covenant, people, is still good until this day because this is an everlasting covenant. Let's look at another covenant. Let's go to Genesis, the 17th chapter, because the Lord made two covenants with Abraham. Let's look at these covenants that he made with Abraham, and let's see if these covenants is still good to this day. Genesis 17, and we go pick it up at verse 1. We just looking at some covenants because God is a covenant God.
Amen.
And if you go come and you go serve this God, you have to come up under covenant with him. And we just want to look at some of these covenants just to see if these covenants is good until this day. Genesis 17, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 17 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
All he doing is telling Abram, walk before me upright and sincere. That's all he telling him because he can't walk perfect, but he can walk upright and sincere. Go ahead and read.
I will make my covenant between me and thee.
He said, Abram, I'm going to make this agreement between me and you. Go ahead and read.
And will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face. And God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
Go ahead.
Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham.
Go ahead.
For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant.
Whatever covenant this is he's finna make with Abraham, it look like this covenant here is an everlasting covenant. How do you get away from everlasting?
Can't.
How do we get away from that? And then somebody gonna tell me that these covenants is no good to this day and the book say everlasting. Now, who should I believe, you or the book? I think I'm going to go with the book too. I think I'm going to eat what y'all eating. Go ahead and read.
To be a God unto thee, and thy seed after thee.
What verse you at?
I'm at verse 8 now.
Go ahead.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
And look, he say he gonna give to Abraham and his seed the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. Who took Israel in the land? Was it Joshua? It was Joshua. Did they get the land forever? No, they didn't. Under King Saul, he was the first king of Israel. Did they get the land under Saul forever? Under David forever? Under Solomon forever? Did they get this land forever? If they didn't get the land forever, this covenant here had to be somewhere in the future.
Amen.
So this covenant haven't even been fulfilled. He said he was going to give them the land of Canaan for what? For an everlasting possession. He trying to give you land and you trying to get to heaven. He trying to give you some land and you trying to go off into heaven. Let's look at this land then, because one thing we need to do, we need to acknowledge what our forefathers done. Let's go to Leviticus, the 26th chapter. Leviticus 26, and we go pick it up at verse 40. And don't let me skip nothing, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm notorious for skipping something.
Yes, sir.
You ain't got to keep saying that, though. Leviticus 26, and we go pick it up at verse 40. Because he said he going to give you the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. Leviticus 26, and let's pick it up at verse 40, because one thing we need to do, we need to acknowledge that our forefathers then sinned against the Lord. Verse 40, go ahead and read.
If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespass, which they have trespassed against me, that also they have walked contrary to me.
Lord knows we done walk contrary to him. Go ahead and read.
And that I also have walked contrary unto them.
And you better believe the Lord been walking contrary to us. Go ahead and read.
And have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised heart be humbled, and they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity.
And that's what we then did. We in the land of our enemy. And we then humbled our heart, and we have accepted of the punishment that the Lord then did to us. Go ahead and read.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob.
He said, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob. So evidently, he made a covenant with Jacob too. Go ahead and read.
And also my covenant with Isaac.
He made the same covenant with Isaac. Go ahead.
And also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land.
The same covenant he made with Abraham, he made the same covenant with Isaac and the same covenant with Jacob that he was going to give him the land of Canaan. And this covenant haven't been fulfilled, not even until this day. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
43. The land also shall be left to them, and shall enjoy their Sabbath while she lieth desolate without them. And they shall accept the punishment of their iniquity, because they despise my judgments, and because their soul of heart my statutes.
We'll go ahead and read.
And yet for all that.
He said, yet for all that you have abhorred my judge, you despise my judgments, and you abhorred my statutes. And then the Lord said, then for all that, I'm still going to give you people a break. You don't deserve it, but he going to give it to you. Go ahead. What verse you at?
44 again.
44. Go ahead.
And yet for all that, when they be in the land of their enemy.
And we in the land of our enemy, right?
Right.
Go ahead and read.
I will not cast them away.
He said, I'm not going to cast them away, even when they in the land of their enemy. And they then despise my judgments and my statutes. He said, I'm still not going to cast these people away. Go ahead and read.
Neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly. and to break my covenant with them.
You mean the Lord say he ain't going to break his covenant with you.
That's what the book
So
says.
what is he going to do? He going to give you the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. God don't break covenants. He don't break covenants. So this covenant is going to happen.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
For I am the Lord their God. 45. But I will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors.
Read that over again.
But I will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors.
He said, I ain't going to break my covenant with them. He said, but I will, for their sake, remember the covenant of their ancestors. Thank God in Jesus' name for that. That he going to remember the covenant that he done made with our ancestors. Thank God in Jesus' name. Go ahead and read.
Whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am the Lord.
Let's go to Psalms 105. Let's go to Psalms 105th chapter. Psalms 105, and we go pick it up at verse 4. Psalms 105, and we go pick it up at verse 4. We're just looking at this covenant, because this covenant haven't been fulfilled either. Look like all the covenants we going to read today, it still look like they good to this day. Psalms 105, and we go pick it up at verse 4. Psalms 105, and we go pick it up at verse 4. This is what we need to do. We need to be seeking the Lord. Verse 4, go ahead and read.
Seek the Lord in his strength. Seek his face forevermore.
And if you do that, let's see what he going to do for you. Go ahead and read.
Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth.
He said, I want you to remember his marvelous works which he done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. Go ahead.
O ye seed of Abraham his servant, ye children of Jacob his chosen.
Go ahead.
He is the Lord our God. His judgments are in all the earth.
Go ahead.
He hath remembered his covenants forever.
He said he going to remember this covenant for how long?
Forever.
Don't look like this covenant could be done away with then. He said he had remembered his covenant forever. Go ahead.
The word which he commanded to 1,000 generations.
Go ahead.
Which covenant he made with Abraham.
I made this agreement with Abraham. Go ahead.
And his oath unto Isaac.
And I made the same agreement with Isaac. Go ahead.
And confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant.
We need to find out, well, what is this everlasting covenant that he done made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Let's see what this everlasting covenant is. Go ahead.
11. Saying unto thee, I will give the land of Canaan.
Wait a minute. He say he gonna give you the land of what? We not going to heaven, people. If we have any new people in here and this is their first time coming here to the Israel of God, look, people, he gonna give you the land of Canaan. You ain't gonna be floating up in the sky in the seventh heaven. I know a few people want to go to the seventh. Verse 11 again. That sounds so good. Say it again, Kent.
Saying unto thee, I will give the land of Canaan, a lot of your inheritance.
That he gonna give you the land of Canaan, and this is an everlasting covenant that the Lord then made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That he gonna give them the land of Canaan for what? An everlasting possession. This covenant he ain't been done away with either. So since we know he gonna give you the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, let's see us getting the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession then. Let's go to Ezekiel 47.
Let me finish at 12.
Okay, she say read verse 12. Go ahead.
When there were but a few men in number, yeah, very few, and strangers in it.
That's good. Let's go to Ezekiel 47. Let's see the Lord giving us the land of Canaan for that everlasting possession. Let's see when this go be fulfilled. Ezekiel 47, and we go pick it up at verse 13. This is when Israel going back home now. And here it is giving them the land of Canaan for that everlasting possession. Ezekiel 47, and let's pick it up at verse 13. Ezekiel 47 and 13. Here we is going home, and he giving us that land for an everlasting possession. He said he is going to do it, right?
That's right.
Verse 13, go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord God, this shall be the border whereby ye shall inherit the land according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph shall have 2 portions.
He said, whereby ye shall inherit the land according to the 12 tribes of Israel. As he said, he made that covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that everlasting covenant to Israel. Here go Israel right here. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall inherit it.
And you're going to inherit the land. Go ahead.
One as well as another, concerning the which I lifted up my hand to give it unto your father.
He had lifted up his hand during the days of Joshua to give you the land then. But you was too wicked to get the land. Go ahead and read.
And this land shall fall unto you for inheritance.
And then he said, this land is going to fall to you for what? For an inheritance. Go ahead.
And this shall be the border of the land toward the north side from the great sea, the way of Hethlon as men go to Zedad.
That's good. Let's drop down. Let's drop down to verse 21. Let's see if we going to be the only ones that inherit the land. Verse 21. Go ahead and read.
So shall you divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel.
He said, you go divide this land according to the tribes of Israel. Go ahead and read.
It shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you and to the strangers that sojourn among you.
Not only is Israel go in the land and inherit the land for an everlasting possession, that stranger that Israel say is not a part of this thing, he's going in there too and go inherit the land for an everlasting possession. Go ahead and read.
Which shall beget children among you. They shall be unto you as one born in the country among the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger shall join?
Whatever tribe that stranger sojourning in, if it's Gad, if it's Judah, if it's Naphtali, Issachar, you get that stranger's inheritance among you. Go ahead and read.
Then shall you give him his inheritance, said the Lord God.
You give him his inheritance, and this is when you go in the land, and you're going to get that land for an everlasting possession. Now, according to what they done told me, don't read this Old Testament. Hey, you couldn't fulfill it. Jesus had to fulfill it for you. But it looked like this covenant haven't even happened yet. Let's look at the other covenant he made with Abraham. Let's go back to Genesis 17 and we go pick it up at verse 10. Let's look at the other part of the covenant that he made with Abraham. Genesis 17 and we go pick it up at verse 10. 17 and 10. Here it is, the Lord trying to give you some land. And you saying, no, Lord, I don't want no land. I want to go to heaven. Boy, you need to read Isaiah the 14th chapter and find out who was trying to get to heaven.
Amen.
Genesis 17, and let's pick it up at verse 10. 17 and 10. This is the other part of the covenant that God had made with Abraham. Go ahead and read.
This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you.
That's what a covenant is. It's an agreement between two or more parties. Me and you, Abraham. Go ahead and read.
And thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
Uh-oh, this one ain't no good. They done went into Paul's writing and threw this part of the covenant away. This agreement ain't no more. Go ahead and read.
Ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Just like that rainbow is the token of the covenant, that the Lord ain't gonna never, ever destroy the earth no more by water. Every time a young man go to the washroom and he used the washroom, if he's circumcised, he's looking at the token of the covenant. He's looking at the token of the covenant. Go ahead and read. What verse
12,
you at?
Verse 12.
Go ahead
And
and
he that
read.
is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child of your generation, he that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed.
Yeah, you know, if we would have stayed in our land and been obedient, we could have, every male son that would have been born, we could have circumcised that young man at 8 days old.
That's right.
If we would have stayed in our land and been obedient. But what did he do? The Lord say, hey, circumcise the person that is born in your house. Circumcise that brother who is bought with your money. Of any stranger, every male had to be circumcised in Abraham's house. Go ahead and read.
13. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
He said, my covenant, the token of the covenant, gonna be in your flesh for what? An everlasting covenant. I'm trying to figure out, when is this over with then? I don't care what Paul said. Everlasting, Paul cannot break the covenant that God made with Abraham. I make an agreement with Abraham, but here it is, Paul can break it.
Can't do it.
It don't work like that, people. It don't work like that. Paul cannot break a covenant that God made with Abraham. What verse you at, Ken?
14.
14. Go ahead, because you really better pay attention to this one. As this covenant, the token of the covenant is in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Now let's see if you don't be circumcised, what's going to happen to you. Go ahead and read.
An uncircumcised man-child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised,
Go ahead.
that soul shall be cut off from his people.
He said that soul going to be cut off from his people. Go ahead.
He hath broken my covenant.
You mean you could break the covenant by not being circumcised? He telling Abraham this. So now the Lord is finna go up from Abraham. Abraham, I done told you what I want you to do. Now let's see what Abraham gonna do. Let's drop down to verse 22. And let's see what Abraham gonna do, because the Lord is finna go up from him. I'm finished talking to you, Abraham. And let's see what Abraham gonna do. Verse 22, go ahead and read.
And when he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham.
Go ahead.
And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house.
He took Ishmael his son and all that was born in his house. Go ahead.
And all that was bought with his money.
Everybody that I done bought with money. Go ahead.
Every male among the men of Israel's, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self-same day as God had said unto him.
You mean Abraham went right to work then?
Yes, sir.
I mean, he didn't waste no time. All you fellas, you over there, I done bought you. You get over here. You stranger over here, you come over here too. Everybody, all you males come over here, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that self-same day. He didn't take no time to fulfill that covenant. He circumcised everybody in his household the self-same day. Go ahead and read.
24. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised.
I don't want to hear you brothers talking about I'm 32 years old. I'm 32 years old, man. I can't be getting circumcised. Well, Abraham was 99. Read that verse again, Kent.
And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin.
Go ahead.
And the self-same day was Abraham circumcised and Ishmael, his son.
And the self-same day that the Lord had told him about the covenant, the agreement that I'm making with you, Abraham, Abraham went right to work.
Right to work.
Right to work.
Right to work.
Right to work. What are they laughing for, man? Here it is. We up here. We pouring out everything we got to these people, and they laughing, man. What verse you
27.
Say it again.
27.
26 again, Kent. Go ahead.
In the same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son.
Go ahead.
And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him.
So, did Abraham keep the covenant,
Yes,
people? Do God break covenants?
No, sir.
This covenant is good until this day then. As if Abraham, he died keeping this covenant. As he couldn't put the foreskin back on. So what did Abraham do? Abraham died keeping this covenant. And God don't break covenants. So you know what I know? This is an everlasting covenant, and it is good until this day. Let's go to Acts, the 7th chapter. Let's go to Acts 7. Let's go to Acts, the 7th chapter. Acts 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 6. Acts 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 6. I need a couple of paper towels. Acts 7, and we go pick it up at verse 6. Acts 7 and 6. Go ahead and read.
And God spake on this wise.
He said, God spake on this wise. Go ahead.
That his seed shall join in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and to treat them evil 400 years.
And we ain't talking America here. Go ahead. We talking what we is down in Egypt. Go ahead.
And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said God. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
Go ahead.
And he gave him the covenant of circumcision.
He gave who the covenant of circumcision? Abraham. Go ahead.
And so Abraham begat Isaac. And circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob. And Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs moved with envy.
That's good, Kent. You know what we should do? Since everybody go to Paul's writing and try to throw the circumcision away, let's go into Paul's writing and let's make sure we understand what Paul is saying. Let's go to Romans, the 2nd chapter. Romans 2. Romans 2. Romans 2. Thank you. Romans 2. Let's just look and see what Paul had to say about this matter. Romans 2, and we go pick it up at verse 24. Romans 2, and we go pick it up at verse 24. Since they want to go into Paul's writing, let's go into Paul's writing and let's see what Paul say about this matter then. Romans 2 and verse 24. Go ahead and read.
For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. For the circumcision barely profited if thou keep the law. But if thou
hey, hold up, Ken. Read that again. Verse 25.
For the circumcision barely profited if thou keep the law.
He said, your circumcision, it profits you if you keep the law. Go ahead.
But if thou be a breaker of the law?
But if you a breaker of the law, go ahead.
That circumcision is made uncircumcision.
That means that if you break God's law, even though you circumcised, you got the token of the covenant. You are circumcised. But if you running around here breaking God's law, it's just like you not circumcised. So this let me know you got to be circumcised here.
Amen.
And you got to be circumcised there.
Yes, sir.
Because if you a breaker of the law, your circumcision don't mean nothing. Even though you got the token of the covenant. Go with what verse you at?
26.
26?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Kent.
Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law.
Who is the uncircumcision? The other nations. If they keep the righteousness of the law, how do they keep the righteousness of the law? By being circumcised. Go ahead and read.
Shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?
Go ahead.
And shall not the uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law?
You mean that uncircumcision by nature, the Gentiles or the stranger, he say, if he keep the law, go ahead.
27.
Wait, read verse 27 again. Go ahead.
and shall not uncircumcision which is by nature.
The other nations, go ahead.
If it fulfill the law.
If it fulfill the law. How do you fulfill the law? You keep it.
Amen.
We ain't talking about the principle of the law. Like somebody told me, see, you can't keep them commandments. We don't keep the commandments. We keep the principle of the commandments. I still can't figure that one out. What is the principle of the commandments? Either you keeping the commandments or you're not. They tell me, no, see, let me tell you something, Jeremiah. See, you don't understand. Well, what do I don't understand? See, you can't keep that law, but you can keep the principle of the law. Then I looked at him and say, well, what is the principle of the law? Verse 27 again. Go ahead, Ken. 27 again.
And shall not uncircumcision which is by nature, if it fulfill the law.
They go keep that circumcision. Go ahead.
Judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law.
He and Israel, who is the circumcision, you know what they do? They transgress the law, even though they circumcised. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. Because he ain't telling you to break.
28.
Go ahead.
For he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward, but in the flesh.
No, I ain't want to read that. Okay. Somebody finna get confused. Well, wait a minute. He said, we gonna show you got to be circumcised. 1 Corinthians 7. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 7 and we go pick it up at verse 18. 1 Corinthians 7 and verse 18. Paul ain't telling you not to be circumcised. That ain't what Paul is saying. First Corinthians 7, and we go pick it up at verse 18. Go ahead and read.
If any man call being circumcised, let him not become uncircumcised.
Now, how is you going to be circumcised? Then you look down there and say, oops, what happened? I'm not circumcised no more. He's not saying that. Hey, if you're a breaker of the law, then it's just like you're not circumcised. That's what he means. Go ahead and read.
If any called in uncircumcision, let him not be circumcised.
Go ahead.
Circumcision is nothing.
He said circumcision is nothing. Go ahead.
And uncircumcision is nothing.
But
the keeping of the commandments of God.
But what did the commandments of God tell us to do?
Be circumcised.
He ain't telling you not to be circumcised here either. He ain't telling you not to be circumcised. But they go here and they read that to me. You know how I know he ain't telling you to be circumcised? He talking to the Corinthians. These are strangers, right? Let's see if the stranger could get in if he ain't circumcised. Let's go to Ezekiel 44. Let's see if that stranger who ain't circumcised could get in. Ezekiel 44, and we go pick it up at verse 9. We need to find out if that stranger who is not circumcised, can he get in? Ezekiel 44, and we go read one verse. We go read verse 9. And he was just talking to the Corinthians who are strangers. Verse 9, go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord God.
He said, thus saith the Lord God. Go ahead.
No stranger uncircumcised in the heart, nor uncircumcised in the flesh.
He said, no stranger uncircumcised in heart or uncircumcised in flesh. Go ahead.
Shall enter into my sanctuary.
Shall enter into my sanctuary. Go ahead.
Of any stranger that is among the children of Israel.
That's why I know when they went into the land and the Lord gave them the land of Canaan for that everlasting possession, and them strangers went in with Israel and they got inheritance, every one of them was circumcised. Amen. Every one of them was circumcised, because can't no stranger uncircumcised in flesh or heart can enter into his sanctuary. So that let me know every one of them strangers that went in the land of Canaan and got that land for an everlasting possession, every one of them was circumcised. Now we see a stranger can't get in if he ain't circumcised. Let's look at Israel. Let's go to Isaiah 52. And we go read one verse. Isaiah 52. Isaiah 52. And we go read verse 1 because we truly need to wake up. Isaiah 52. And we go read verse 1. Isaiah 52 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Awake, awake. Put on that strength, O Zion.
Hey, he said awake at this time. He wants you to wake up. He wants you to put on your strength, O Zion. Go ahead and read.
Put on that beautiful garments, O Jerusalem.
At this time, he wants Jerusalem to put on some beautiful garments. Go ahead.
The holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean.
You can't go in the land if you ain't circumcised. He say, well, awake, awake. Put on thy strength, O Zion. He say, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. He said, for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the holy city, the uncircumcised and the unclean. So you can't get in the land. You can't get in the kingdom if you uncircumcised. So Paul was not telling you that you could get in God's kingdom and not be circumcised. So they look like that circumcision is pretty good today too, huh? Let's go to Exodus 19. Let's look at another covenant. Because you know what the Lord kind of showed me through my elder brother? Sometimes you need to know how the old covenant went. See, after you know how the old covenant went, then it ain't hard to understand how the new covenant comes in. So what we gonna do? Let's go back and look at the old covenant and see how the old covenant came to be and what everything that happened under the old covenant. And then when we get to that new covenant, it's gonna be real easy to understand. Exodus 19, and we go pick it up at verse 3. They had just came out of Egypt. They just came out of Egypt 3 months ago, and here the Lord is finna talk to them. Exodus 19 and verse 3. Go ahead and read.
And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called him out of the mountain, saying, thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel.
He said, thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and I want you to tell the children of Israel. This is what I want you to tell them. Go ahead and read.
You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians.
Everybody who was right there, put your lenses on and go back. Everybody that was right there at Mount Sinai, they just had come out of Egypt. So the Lord said, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians. You was there when I tore down Egypt. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. Go ahead.
And how I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself.
And I bared you on eagle's wings, and I'll tell you what I did. I then brought you to me, to myself here. That's a sweet thing to understand. The Lord then took us out of Egypt, then brought us to him. Go ahead and read.
Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed.
He said, now therefore, I want you to obey my voice indeed. Go ahead.
And keep my covenant.
And then you got to obey my voice, and you have to keep my covenant. Go ahead and read.
Then shall you be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine.
Go ahead. That's a big position he's trying to give you here, Israel. Go ahead and read.
He shall be unto me a kingdom of priests.
He said, you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. But you know what you have to do? You have to obey my voice, and you have to keep my covenant. Then you could be a kingdom of priests to me, that peculiar people. Go ahead and read.
And in holy nation, these are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
Go ahead now. Moses needs to get everybody together now. He said, this is what you should speak to the house of Israel. Let's see what Moses is going to do. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people.
I need all you elders, come on up here, because the Lord done told me to tell you something. Come on up here. I need to tell you what the Lord done told me. Go ahead and read.
And laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him.
Go ahead.
And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord hath spoken, we will do.
Oh, boy. Couldn't he have to pick somebody else? He said that people say, oh, that the Lord just said we gonna do. Go ahead, I do. I do. What do you say when you get married? They finna go into a marriage. Go ahead and read.
And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord.
Lord, they said all that you done said they gonna do. Go ahead, what verse we at?
Verse 9.
That's good. Let's go to the 34th chapter. Let's see what is the covenant that he was telling you to keep then. Exodus 34. Let's look at the covenant he told you that he wants you to keep under the old covenant. Exodus 34, and we go pick it up at verse 27. Let's see what is the covenant that the Lord is telling you he wants you to keep. He wants you to obey his voice and keep his covenant. Then you could be a peculiar treasure unto me. All the earth is mine. And then you could be a kingdom of priests. But you got to obey the voice. You got to keep the covenant. Let's see what the covenant is. Exodus 34 and verse 27. Go ahead and read verse 27.
And the Lord said unto Moses, write thou these words, for after the 10 of these words have I made a covenant with thee and with Israel.
Here go the agreement again. Here go the agreement. After the 10 of these words have I made a covenant with thee, Moses, and with Israel. That's what the covenant is. It's an agreement between two or more parties. This is the covenant that he's making with Moses and with Israel. Let's see what the covenant is. Go ahead and read.
And he was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights, and did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the table the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Well,
you mean to tell me the covenant that he made with Moses and with Israel was what?
The 10 commandments.
Boy, don't look at everybody telling me you can't keep them commandments. They've been done away with. But he making this covenant with Moses and with Israel. Let's just take a peek at this covenant. Let's go into Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Deuteronomy 4. And we go pick it up at verse 5. As Moses go do something real strange right here. Moses finna do something real strange. Deuteronomy 4. And we go pick it up at verse 5. Deuteronomy 4 and verse 5. Go ahead and read.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and
Wait
judgments.
a minute. Moses ain't teaching them people. You mean Moses is standing there teaching the people statutes and judgments? In other words, these people do not have an excuse. That's why when you come here to the Israel of God, we gonna teach you. Because we don't want you to have a cloak. You ain't going to be running to the Lord and say, I didn't know. We going to teach you what the covenant is that you have to keep. Amen. He say, I have taught you statutes and judgments. Go ahead.
Even as the Lord my God commanded me.
Just like the Lord commanded me to teach you these statutes and judgments, for you won't have an excuse. Go ahead and read.
That ye shall do so in the land whether ye go to possess it.
Go ahead.
Keep therefore and do them.
He said, keep therefore and do these statutes and judgments. Go ahead.
For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nation.
He said, this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You keeping these statutes and these judgments. In other words, where's our wisdom in now? Where's it at? You the fool of the nations. What verse you at, Ken?
With the end of verse 6.
Go ahead and read.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
That's what they were supposed to say about us. All we had to do was keep the statutes and judgments. Yeah, all the nations would have looked at us and said, this is the wise and understanding people right here. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. For what nation is there so great who have God so nigh to them.
All we had to do is keep them statutes and judgments, and whenever we called on the Lord, he would have been right nigh to us.
Amen, amen.
He'd have been nigh to us. But you have to keep the statutes and the judgments. Go ahead and read. And he still will be nigh to you. All you have to do is keep them statutes and them judgments.
That's right.
Go ahead and read.
As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for.
Go ahead.
And what nation is there so great to have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
You mean the law is righteous? Man, you mean Moses say the law is righteous. Go ahead and read. But see, this is the problem. I know what the problem is now. We don't want to walk in righteousness. That's why we don't keep the statutes and the judgments, as we don't want to walk in no righteousness. Go ahead and read. What verse?
Verse 9.
Go ahead.
Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life.
Go ahead.
But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons.
Teach them what? Go ahead and read. We need to find out what we need to teach our sons and our sons' sons. Go ahead and read.
Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb.
Horeb and Sinai is one and the same. When he brought you out of Egypt, in Exodus the 19th chapter, he brought you to Mount Sinai. He said, especially teach your children about that day. Go ahead and read.
When the Lord said unto me, gather me all the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth.
Is we still on the earth? We need to be teaching these statutes and judgments then to our children as long as we live on the earth. Go ahead.
That they may teach their children.
And we need to teach our children. Go ahead.
And ye shall come near and stood,
11 again.
And ye came near and stood under the mountains, and the mountains burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness.
Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice.
Go ahead.
And he declared unto you his covenant.
And he declared unto you his covenant. Go ahead.
Which he commanded you to perform.
He didn't ask you to perform them. He commanded you to perform them. There's a difference here. Which he commanded you to perform. What did he command us to perform? Go ahead.
Even 10 commandments.
You mean he commanded us to keep these 10 commandments then? He didn't ask you to. Israel of God, could y'all please keep the 10 commandments? No. He commanded you to keep the 10 commandments. Read that verse over again, Ken. It sounds so good.
And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone.
So that's the covenant that he told you to keep, the 10 commandments. We need to find out how long is these commandments good for. Since you going to tell me that we not under that old covenant, we don't have the Old Testament been fulfilled, you can't keep them? Let's see how long these commandments good for. Let's go to Psalms 111. Let's go to Psalms 111. Let's see how long these commandments is good for them. Psalms 111. And we go pick it up at verse 7. We need to find out how long is these commandments or this covenant, how long is it good for? Man, that was tied tongue right there.
A little bit. You okay?
I'll be okay?
You okay?
Okay. Psalms 111, and we go pick it up at verse 7. Psalms 111, and we go pick it up at verse 7. Go ahead and read.
The works of his hands are verity and judgment. All his commandments are sure.
All his commandments are sure. Go ahead.
They stand fast forever and ever.
Them commandments stand fast for how long?
Forever and ever.
There ain't no end to them then. Go ahead.
And are done in truth and uprightness.
Go ahead.
He sent redemption unto his people. He hath commanded his covenant forever.
He said he sent redemption unto his people. He said he have commanded his covenant for how long?
Forever.
It ain't no break in there then. Go ahead and read.
Holy and reverend is his name.
Who? What? Holy and what?
Holy and reverend is his name.
Who name?
God.
Guy over there in the storefront?
No, sir.
No, he say holy and reverend is his name. Go ahead and read.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
He say the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Go ahead.
A good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
Now I know why they can't get that circumcision right. As they don't keep the commandments.
Amen.
I'm wondering why they can't get that circumcision right. Because they don't keep the commandments. He say a good understanding have all they that do what?
His commandments.
That keep them commandments. Go ahead.
His praise endureth forever.
That's good. Let's go to Exodus 24. Let's go to Exodus, the 24th chapter. Exodus 24. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Let's just take a peek at how did this old covenant go in the forest then? On what grounds did it go in the forest? Let's just take a peek at this old covenant and see how the old covenant went in the forest. Exodus 24, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Exodus 24, and we go pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And he said unto Moses, come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off.
We got 74 people right here, right? Go ahead and read.
And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, and they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him.
Only Moses could go up and talk to the Lord because he is the high priest. Go ahead and read.
And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said, we will do.
Uh-oh, there go I do again. When do you say I do again? When you get married. He said Moses came at verse 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord. In other words, Moses is teaching these people what they ought to do. Mm-hmm. He told them all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said will we do. That's the second time they done said, I do. Go ahead and read.
Verse 4. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord.
So he used these young men. They finna do some sacrifices here. Go ahead and read.
And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins.
He said Moses took half of the blood. He put half of the blood in basins. Go ahead.
And half of the blood he sprinkled upon the altar.
He got half of the blood. He's sprinkling all on the altar everywhere. Go ahead.
And he took the book of the covenant.
And he took the book of the covenant. Go ahead.
And read it in the audience of the people.
And read in the audience of the people. In other words, everybody who sat before Moses know what they ought to do. He taught these people what they supposed to do. Why they don't do that in church now? What didn't happen that we don't teach the people what they supposed to be doing? He took half of the blood, put in basins. Blood sprinkled all on the altar. Go ahead.
Verse 7 again. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said we will do and be obedient.
There they go. They say, I do again. Shoot, my wife didn't even say that 3 times to me. I love you, girl. Okay. When you gonna say I do? What verse we at? Verse 8?
Verse 8.
Go ahead and read.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and
Hey,
said,
wait a minute. Moses took the blood and he started sprinkling blood all on the people. I bet you wouldn't have said, don't sprinkle that blood on me. He took the blood and sprinkled all on the people. Go ahead and read.
and said, behold, the blood of the covenant.
The blood of what?
The blood of the covenant, which the Lord have made with you concerning all these words.
So now that old covenant is etched in stone.
Thank you for tuning in to today's lesson. If you are in the Chicagoland area, we welcome you to join our church community every Saturday at 12 noon Central. We are located in Riverdale, Illinois at 520 West 138th Street. Our ministry is made possible by your donations. To make a donation or to view all of our locations across the world, please visit our website at www.theisraelofgod.com.